Oh my god, it's your intro!
And the forensic testing that they did on the baby's bones, and I have notes regarding that. Hang on here. Okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Sorry guys, this is my first video, so it may be a little chaotic, and I promise you I'll get more organized the more that I do. Okay, the confession. Let's talk confession tapes. She talks with detectives and confesses. She tells them that she didn't kill the baby. Or it. That's how she refers to it. She calls it it, not the baby. And not Annabelle, which is what they referred to the baby as in court, because that's what they decided to name it after the fact. Anyways, her dad questions if she was prescribed birth control at her first doctor's appointment. On this point, I am confused, because during the trial, the nurse and doctor testified that they did not prescribe birth control because they found out she was pregnant. If she was prescribed birth control and she took it, what could it have done to a 32-week fetus? That's what I wanted to know myself. So, because, like I said, she said she had a prescription for birth control. Who the hell knows? Anyways, so I did some research on it because I want to know, if you take birth control, can it cause you to have, can it hurt your baby? Like, what can happen? Everything that I personally read, again, I'm not a doctor, I just looked this up, I googled it, but everything I personally read says no. Taking birth control has not been proven to cause harm to a baby. So, even if she took the birth control, that could not have caused it to be stillborn. She said she knew she was pregnant, yet she still allegedly picked up a prescription of birth control pills and chose to take them. Ladies, if you knew you were pregnant, would you knowingly pick up a prescription for birth control pills and take them, not knowing if they could harm your baby or not? My thoughts was, she picked up the pills and took them because she was banking on it harming her baby. Because she did not want that baby. She did not want to be a mom. She did not want to tell anybody that she was pregnant. And she didn't want it. So, maybe she thought if she took birth control, it would kill the baby and she wouldn't have to deal with it. I mean, I feel like that's what she did. The father of the baby didn't even find out about the baby until the police showed up and asked him if he would give a sample so that they could do DNA with the bones and find out if he was the father. He ended up being the father, and then his family found out via media that he was the father, and that indeed the baby was dead. That poor father, my heart goes out to his mother, because finding out that your first grandchild died in such a way, I can't imagine. I can't imagine for the dad finding out that you were going to be a father and that's what happened to your child. God, it just makes me sick to my stomach. Like, that's sick. That is so sick. And so not okay. Like, I just can't even. Anyways, let's see. During the trial, the forensic examiner says that she determined that the baby was born alive, but she could not determine the cause of death. She discussed the bones and tells them that they are still missing 2 leg bones from one lower leg and both ankles, feet, and toes. Also, it puzzles me that the baby decomposed so quickly. Like, all that was left was mostly bone. This perplexes me. Yeah, it did perplex me. So, basically, during this trial, Her defense stands on the point of her having an eating disorder. And because she had an eating disorder and she was nutritionally deprived, therefore the fetus did not grow correctly. And as an end result of that, the baby was stillborn. That's what they kept saying. There were experts in the courtroom going back and forth at it, about it, you know. They even had an expert in the courtroom talking about her confession tapes and how they believe she was coerced. I watched the tapes. I don't think she was coerced. I mean, I think she knew what she was doing. I really do. It's just a hard situation because she is 18, but God, I just keep going back to the fact that I was 15 when I had my daughter, and I could never do anything like that. So how could she? Like, I just don't get it. I can't fathom it. So throughout the trial, various people testify about the bones and the findings and all that jazz. Sorry, my papers were in the way. My notes. Anyways, they testify about all that. And they go back and forth trying to say that the baby didn't grow right, and that when the OB guessed that it was 32 weeks, he was wrong on the fundal height, and that the baby wasn't 32 weeks. It was actually supposed to be further along, and it wasn't growing right, and so on and so forth, and all that. To me, they never proved that the baby was born stillborn. And so I find it hard and difficult because if your baby is born and it lets out a cry and gurgles, it's alive. What happened between the time when that baby was born and the time when she took it in her backyard and used her hands to dig a grave to put it in? We probably will never know, because all that they found were bones from the baby, and they can't determine cause of death definitively with just bones. They can determine that they think it was homicide, and that they believe the baby was born alive. And they even called specialists in, forensic specialists, to examine the bones to see if they had the same conclusion. And they did. Basically, what it ends up being is, I'm going to talk about reasonable doubt, okay? We all know the Casey Anthony case. She was found not guilty of killing her daughter, Kaylee Anthony, which we know that she did. The reason that she was found not guilty is because the jury, it was left up on the prosecution's side to prove without a reasonable doubt that she killed Kaylee. Well, they didn't have evidence to back that. So, because of that, therefore the jury could not find her guilty of murder. So she got off. Well, basically, reasonable doubt had a huge play in the conclusion to Skylar Richardson's trial. in her defense team's closing arguments, they made sure to talk about reasonable doubt and outline it and go on about it to plant that seed in the jury's mind. And their thing was, because the state couldn't prove how her baby died, or if it was even born alive, that scientifically they can't prove that she committed the crimes that they have her charged with. During this trial, they had her dad testify as a character witness, and he showed a ton of pictures of her when she was little, with her brother, with little kids that were family friends and stuff like that, and talked about the kind of person she was and everything. I mean, I'm having a hard time because I don't want to hate on this girl. I'm sorry, my dog's whining in the background, guys. Pumpkin, stop. I really don't want to hate this girl. I don't want to hate anybody, but she did something really bad. And I feel like her actions negate any character that her parents are speaking on. Any parent is going to take the stand and tell you that their kids are loving, great, wonderful human beings, because that's what they know of their kids. But when she did this, she wasn't the same Skylar that they knew. They negate the fact that she hid this from them. And her mom even asked her if she was pregnant. And she said, no, I'm not. She hid this from them. And they found out when they came to the police station because she was being questioned. The father. She broke up with him, didn't tell him anything about her being pregnant, nothing. Told him that she needed to break up because it was going to be senior year and she was going to be busy. And blocked him on everything and didn't contact him anymore. She hid that from him. Somebody that has the frame of mind to do that, something's not right in their head. And I don't buy the she's young and naive and she has an eating disorder and so mentally she's not the same as other kids and so on and so forth. No, I don't buy that shit. No. I don't care. She gave birth to her baby and buried it in her backyard and cleaned up the mess and was going to go on about her life until the doctors more or less, she had no choice but to confess, and they reported it. Had that physician not reported it, we probably still would not know about that baby and that this happened. So, essentially, I know I'm kind of giving it away by my actions and stuff. And I apologize that this isn't a totally thorough, point-by-point testimony review video. I didn't have time to do that kind of video, and I'm just starting my YouTube, so I promise you in the future when I do cases, I'll definitely be more organized, but with this one, it just wasn't happening, and I just want to get it done and get it up, because I'm curious to what other people think. I know people are talking, I know people are interested. It interested me, and I'm just upset. It bothers me. So basically, in the end, she was not found guilty of most of the charges. The only charge she was found guilty on was the abuse of a corpse. So, she ends up getting, during the sentencing, and you can watch the trial and the sentencing and everything. You can find it online. I'm not good enough with YouTube yet to link up, like, videos and stuff like that. I promise you I'll get there, but I don't know how yet. I'm learning. Anyways, she ended up getting probation, essentially. If she screws up on probation, then she'll have to serve 12 months in prison. But if she does everything the probation department wants her to do, which they didn't put any stipulations on it, going to college, nothing, no stipulations. So they didn't put any stipulations on it. Sorry. I had to let the dog out of my room. Okay, guys. Sorry about that. Anyway, so she was found not guilty of the other charges. She was found guilty of abuse of a corpse. She got 12 months, a 12-month sentence with a 7-day credit for 7 days served, because in these last 2 years, the time between when she did this and now, she served a total of 7 days in jail for killing her baby. 7 days. So they credit that, and then they give her, I think, 3 years of probation. Basically, she has to report, and if the probation department thinks that she's not doing anything right, then she will go serve the 12 months in prison. During this trial, her parents tried to secure the remains of the baby, which they call Annabelle Richardson, because they wanted to bury it. Well, because the remains were evidence in the case, the state could not release them. So at the end of her sentencing hearing, they decided what would happen with the remains. Now, they allowed victim impact statements. So, the grandmother, which is the mother of the father of the baby, I believe his name was Trey. Anyway, she read a statement. Her statement hurt my heart so much. Like, I feel for her so much. She basically said that if Skylar would have just let the father know, let her son know, they would have taken that baby and they would have raised it, and she wouldn't have had to be a part of its life, and there would be no questions asked, and she could have just went on about her way. So she didn't need to kill that baby, but she did. And obviously the grandma's devastated, the father's devastated, and her impact statement spoke of that, spoke of how it's affected her health. She hinted a little bit about how it's affected the father. How Skylar and the father met was through a girl that went to school with Skylar, is the cousin of the father of the baby. Skylar had no problem going to this girl and asking her to be a character witness for her, knowing full well that that baby was that girl's family. But she did not tell the girl that And the girl did not know that. So that caused problems in that family in itself. Because here they are finding out that they have a relative, a grandbaby, and a granddaughter and a daughter that they didn't know about, that, got murdered and got buried in a shallow grave in the mother's backyard. And on top of that, now they have this cousin whom they have a close relationship with being a character witness for the monster that did this to the baby. Essentially, now, mind you, this character witness does not know that her cousin is the father, because Skylar didn't feel like she needed to let that piece of information be known. So by the time the father's mom talks to her niece, after there had been a lot of family tension and stuff like that, she figures out, that the niece didn't know, and so that's just grimy in itself. Like, not only did you murder your baby, but now you're going to go to somebody that you know is involved and ask them to be a character witness for you, not caring, knowing full damn well that that's going to cause issues within that family. And you blatantly disregard that, and you don't care, because all she was worried about was making herself look good and getting out of going to prison. So they end up deciding, her parents stood up and they said that they have a plot and they want to bury the remains and do a proper memorial. And the judge made Skylar's father promise that the paternal grandparents would have access to the site and would be able to participate in the memorial and so on and so forth. If her dad promised this, the judge said that he would release the remains to them, since they already had a plot. That part doesn't upset me so much, because, in all of this, they do have a plot. They've shown proof of that. It was their grandchild. They didn't know. They were lied to, and it was hid from them. And I don't think that they're gonna prevent the father's family from paying their respects and being able to come be at the grave and things like that. I don't think that'll happen. It's just sad that it came down to that, and that instead of playing in the yard with his, what would now be 2-year-old granddaughter, he is paying for a funeral and a plot for her. And that's truly sad. They mentioned before sentencing her eating disorder again. They said she's down to 86 pounds. She's losing hair. That during the trial they had to take her to the pediatrician, and she had to go to the ER and get potassium because she was so sick and not eating, and so on and so forth. And they wanted the judge to consider that in his decision. The judge did say that a lot of things that he knows could not be considered in the decision. If they could, she would be in prison. But I don't blame the judge, because it's his job and you have to go by the laws and the rules. And if you can't consider something, even though you know it, when you're doing sentencing, you can't. And that's just how it is, sadly. So it could have had a different outcome, but because of legalities and things that couldn't be mentioned and considered. Because of that, this girl gets basically off. I mean, they give the big spiel about her eating disorder, which she did look frail, and you can see that her hairline was thinning, like in her part. But then, icing on the cake is that night, which was yesterday when all this came to conclusion, because this is a local case, Skylar was at the football game for her local high school. She was at the Carlisle football game, and somebody got a picture of her. So much for please be lenient, because we're really worried about her. She's really sick. She has an eating disorder, and we need to get her in a place and make sure she's surrounded and blah, blah, blah. Well, I guess all that went out the window so she could go hang out with her friends and go to a football game. And I don't understand how going to a football game that people were not blatantly rude to this girl. Like, I can't fathom it. Thank God it's not in my town, because I would not have been okay with that. I'll try to have my husband link in the picture that was taken of her at the game. I thank you for watching my video. Hang on. Close the door. Sorry, guys. Anyways, I thank you for watching my video. I appreciate it so much. Sorry, a lot of it was rambling and here and there and everywhere. I promise my next video will be more organized. Like I said, I'm just new at this and I'm feeling it out and just trying to learn what I'm doing and be stabilized and everything. So, I know and I hope that the longer that I do videos, the more organized I'll become and the better my videos will become. So, I apologize for the quality because I'm using my phone. I definitely apologize for it being so everywhere. I appreciate you guys watching. I would love to know your opinions and thoughts. However, be kind in the comments. Don't be nasty. It's okay for people to disagree with how I feel, and it's okay for them to disagree with how other people feel. So, just be open in the comments. Like, it's not... Be honest. And be nice to one another. And be kind. If you like this video, and you want to see more, please tap the subscribe button, and tap the notification bell, so that you know when I post more videos. I welcome you to explore my channel, because I have information on there of what days I'll do videos and what kind they'll be, and so on and so forth. And I thank you all very much. I hope you found this interesting, and please spread love. I'll see you later.
Oh my God, it's your outro.